Welcome to Building Fortunes Radio. Make sure you check us out at buildingfortunesradio.com. Along with our marketing partners, we're here to help our PM Marketing Network Lead customers build their businesses and make the world a better place. At Building Fortunes, we know how much your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell a friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now on to our show with your host, Peter Mingles.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingles here. You're listening to us on Building Fortunes Radio. It's www.buildingfortunesradio.com. I own Building Fortunes Radio, and I get a chance to work with entrepreneurs all over the country, sometimes even all over the world. And today, we have a special radio show with Gary Cramer. Gary and I have known each other, I don't know, it's got to be a decade plus, maybe even longer than that. We've done radio shows and things together. We've talked about business, done business together for a really long time. I called him just recently and catching up with some of the things that he was working on. I found out about a program that I am really excited about letting you guys hear all about. So I wanted Gary to be able to kind of introduce it as I'm learning it and you guys are learning it as well, and certainly to be able to take action. He's a gentleman who's an entrepreneur upon entrepreneurs. He does a lot of things in his career. Everything from running companies to building companies to helping put together companies. And if you have a company you want to grow, you'll be able to work with Gary. But today we're going to be talking about solar and the opportunities that might be available for you. And we're going to give you a little bit of an insight. And this is just a great way to introduce to our Building Fortunes Radio listening audience, Gary Cramer. He's got a domain name by his own name. So if you go to GaryCramer.com, and Gary is Gary, spelling counts, right? And Cramer's Cramer.com. So GaryCramer.com. You'll be able to see many of the things that he's working on, including this solar project. And the first thing I want to do is kind of get out of the way so we can introduce to our Building Fortunes Radio listening audience, Gary Cramer, and the project that he is better explaining than I am for sure. So Gary, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, and glad to be here. One of the main things here in the solar is obviously it's a big topic globally, specifically in governments and municipalities, cities. I'm meeting with mayors and so forth out here about revolutionizing and transforming the cities. But one of the things that people need to think about is timing. This is a good time to consider renewable energy for folks that have anything on the agricultural side. This is where our focus is agricultural or commercial. And so we don't just do solar, we do many aspects of renewable energy. And that would start with solar panels for existing buildings, parking lots, EV stations, charging stations. And again, if you have land as little as 1.5 acres, we can turn that into a solar farm. So anything upwards is obviously going to become a larger solar farm. And then if you have a larger piece of property, 25 acres, 50 acres, we will even consider assessment for a data center. So there's a big market for data centers with the artificial intelligence going on, and there's a high demand for that. And in addition, we move into what we call zero net energy homes. And this don't just pertain to developments for large developers, if you will, but also into the commercial side, commercial buildings. Now you're talking about buildings with cutting edge material or fireproof, waterproof, seal-proof, tornado-proof, hurricane-proof, if you will. So we have an opportunity to help create and cutting-edge renewable energy solutions that can create success for you, turn your property and business into another cash flow. And what is the biggest opportunity here is that anyone listening, that if you do have any agricultural property or you have an existing business, we will install, deploy, manage, at all our cost and expense, 100% of the cost, and share all revenue with you 50-50. If you're an international, it's 51-49. No gimmicks, no small print. It is we will deploy, we will obtain all the assets necessary to deploy and install on your properties, and there is simply an intake form, and you can find that on my website at garycramer.com. Scroll down a little bit and you'll see a little intake form that you would fill out. It's simple. Mailing address, who are you, how big is your property, and a couple questions, and it goes in for a free assessment. So we tell people to just get a free assessment. Let's see if your property qualifies, and it typically most likely will, because we do approve a high percentage of them. And with that being done, you'll end up with a welcome letter, and then from there is a PPA, or a power purchase agreement. And that gets very exciting for folks because they get to actually realize what their property value can bring them as far as a cash flow working with us in the renewable energy business.
I mean, I guess we're done. I mean, that really explains a lot. So I'm going to just kind of ask almost for repetition purpose, because a lot of us may be familiar with this or a lot of us may be new. So when you mentioned like a solar farm, you said 1.5 acres or bigger. So what is a solar farm? So for those people that might not be familiar with it, but they have an acre and they've heard about solar, what would that mean?
It typically means that we would look at installing solar panels. These are panels that, in just layman terms, generate its energy from the sun.
Sure.
And then we also utilize battery storage systems, new technology, advanced technology to actually even store that energy. So the key is these are solar panels that would be installed on the property. They are stable, sturdy, strong, 30-year strength of time, if you will, durability. And what these solar panels do is more than just generate capital or revenues from utilizing the sun's energy, but it also helps in reducing carbon emissions. It mitigates climate changes. It improves air quality. There's so many things that solar energy offers our environment for benefits. You're going to hear about things about reduced greenhouse emissions, if you will, or reduced carbon emissions, greenhouse gases. The bottom line is utilizing, and most importantly, what this does is it allows you to actually participate in contributing to the crisis for the energy grid. The energy grid is suffering. This would mean that if it's not fixed or some solutions are not provided aggressively, that means outages, lighting outages in your area, your cities, electricity gone. So there is a feverish mode of action right now behind the scenes to do quick installs, get these properties. And this is another reason why on a humanitarian side, we're offering it to any business owner, any agricultural farming property or land to go ahead and accept our offer so that they do not have to have any billing or any participation financially. We take 100% of that obligation and then still share the revenue with them. And so that puts us in a very unique situation to really have a high capacity of people saying yes once they just simply fill out the intake form and get a free assessment. They can get very excited about it. And, some people's concerns, that may come up or what will it look like? Well, it is simply a field of panels that are, again, absorbing the sun's rays, and we're converting that into energy and electricity. And then we're providing that reduction of energy that would actually affect all of the community, state, city, the country. But most importantly, when it comes to, well, why would you do it? Well, it could be environmental reasons. It could be, having something that is a solution that you're now in the renewable energy business. So you may transition, but you're also converting a property that may be earning you no money at all. You're paying your taxes on it, but now you're converting it into a legacy, a family legacy to now carry on, because we will offer contracts that are 20 to 30 years of revenue sharing, and it can be very profitable for all sides because we sell that energy back to the utility companies. and from that standpoint, share those revenues. And so you have great opportunity at no risk for a free assessment and no financial risk at all. And from that standpoint, people get pretty excited about that. But improved air quality as well. So you not only do you have the cause of the green effect, the reduced emissions, you have a crisis we're solving, and you get the financial gain out of it as well.
So I live in Florida, and as I drive down one of the roads, there's a person that has a house, and they have a lot next to that house, and there's a solar array, which is, I don't know how big it is. It might, I'm going to guess, it might be 100 plus feet long. Looks like there's 2 or 3 stacked up on each other. So it's a big rectangle filled of the solar panels. Is that kind of like what we're referencing here?
In essence, yes. Of course, there is solar for residential, and we're mainly commercial, industrial, and agricultural. So if somebody has a home and they have some agricultural property, that maybe they're allowed to, it's a farming, those types of things. And, some people may ask, well, I farm on my property. So do I have to quit farming? No, you do not. We can install solar and you can still farm and have 2 generations of incomes if that's your passion to continue farming. We can build the solar panels up 10, 15, 16 feet in the air if necessary, so that you're allowed to get your farming equipment in and out and through and process what you need to do. Certain things that that I would bring up if you had a building as well, and we were putting solar panels on it. Another value add is maybe we've had some people where their roofs would require $100,000 worth of repair, and that needed to be done. Well, we'll pick up those costs as well. So not only will we repair that roof that's desperately needed, but we'll install the solar again at new cost, reduce all the costs of your electricity, and at the same time, anything accessible or excess of that, you're sharing it. So it's an incredible opportunity for both business and agriculture.
Wow. So, for instance, we do radio shows recently with people that they manufacture the natural ingredients for some supplements. They do cranberries, they do elderberries, they do a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So you would be able, and they have farms, like massive farms, lots of acres and stuff like that. So they would be able to actually go to GaryCramer.com, fill in that solar intake form, maybe be pre-qualified, get a phone call from you or somebody on your team, and maybe be able to take some of that land and turn it into many money-making opportunities. Plus, do they get a chance to use any electricity themselves?
If it is residential, not for their particular residential home, because we don't tap into the existing utility company. We create and generate the electricity and allow the business to sustain itself off of our installations. And then, so it's a big difference. And then also for businesses, another income stream is thinking about the near future, the next 1, 2, 3 years, is being able to utilize their parking spaces. For every single EV electric vehicle station, 2 parking lots would serve 2 spaces. And that's another income stream. And you got to think about as the electricity vehicle market continues to grow, they need places. It's going to bring customers to your location. And it's also generating you a revenue. It's no different than when they had to start installing gas stations on every corner.
Right.
So the same thing is going to now apply in the green space, and then the renewable energy and electric vehicle stations are part of that, and they generate a very nice income stream for travelers and tourists, and also if you're at a gym or a location at a grocery store. What a great way to go do your shopping, get your exercise, and in 20, 30 minutes your vehicle's charged up.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, we're going to do this. We're going to take a quick commercial break. You're listening to Gary Cramer. We're here talking about solar energy, solar panels, and a way for you to be able to make some money with this stuff as well. And Gary will go through that on the other side of this commercial break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to Building Fortunes Radio. If you sell a product or service, then you should check out PM Marketing's NetworkLeads.com. Just visit www.networkleads.com. For over 18 years, PM Marketing has helped distributors build their home-based businesses through lead generation, website development, automated email delivery systems, and sales training. If you're looking for a way to increase your skills and increase the number of people that see your product or opportunity, NetworkLeads.com can help. To learn more, visit www.networkleads.com. Ask about their lead management system, capture pages, personalized websites, MLM training, humongous blogs, the humongous classified ad network, Building Fortunes Radio, or their webinar schedule. NetworkLeads.com can be your one-stop shop for everything you need. And now, back to our show.
And we are back. Peter Mingles here. We're listening to Gary Cramer. We're going to call this the Gary Cramer Radio Show. It's going to be about this as well as other things, but today we're talking solar. So for those people that are running businesses and you have lake acreage and you maybe a little bit or a lot, but it's got to be at least over 1.5 acres, you can go to GaryCramer.com, fill in that form with this solar intake. We'll make sure it's in the show description of this radio show as well, so we'll make it real easy for you. But you have a no-cost, if you will, assessment to see if you guys would qualify for this. So, Gary, can you give me kind of like a regular example of maybe somebody that might be using this and some of the projections of what might happen next? So I'm going to use an example. I have a guy in my town. He owns a building. It's pretty big. He's got a nice parking lot, but he's not doing a lot with it right now. And he might be a data center himself because he runs a computer repair shop. So you got a lot of places to be able to do this with. So it might be a couple of acres big. It's for commercial purposes. What are the next steps? He fills out the form. What happens after that?
Well, yes. So what he would want is he's going to obviously say, well, yes, what's next? So once you fill out that form, and I do want you to realize this, not only is this a free assessment, but should you be approved, which is a high probability, is that, again, it's zero cost for the installation, right? And this is a rare opportunity. But what you will expect is this. Once you fill out that form, it gets submitted into an AI or an artificial intelligence system that actually assesses the property and the location. It goes in and syncs in with a satellite, and that satellite can view that property. So we don't necessarily need to view the property at all in order to approve it. All the data that you put on that form, which is the basic property address and location, how many acres you have, and a latitude, a longitude, or any PID or property identification numbers that would be put onto that form, basically gets put into the system to assess everything. Once that is done, which can take 2 to 4 weeks. It could be less, but 2 to 4 weeks based on the volume and business that's flowing in, which is very substantial. But at the same time, within about 30 days, let's say, you're going to end up receiving a welcome letter. If you are approved, you'll receive a welcome letter. And yes, someone may reach out to you like myself just to follow up with you and give you any things that you may have questions about. But most importantly, hopefully it's a call that's saying, yes, you're approved, or in essence that you are received that welcome letter. From that standpoint, then the next piece is the power purchase agreement. And that's the big one, because that goes into detail about what we're going to do on that property, because that property may have been assessed for a solar farm, a data center, battery storage capacities, or a combination. And what's nice about that, it's going to detail out the revenues that you're going to earn for your participation of providing the property. And some people have been very, very shocked about the amount of money and potential that's on the table that their property is now going to produce. And it's quite frankly can provide people retirement income and an ability to retire early. And if they're tired of what they're already doing, well, they just basically bought themselves freely into a business that's going to generate them legacy revenues. And from that standpoint, it's a decision. I don't really go into all the numbers what someone can make, because there's so many variables such as what does that local utility company in the area, what are they willing to pay? What are we negotiating with them for the kilowatts? A kilowatt is what's being generated from the energy and the solar panels, if you will, and we get paid for that. But the nice thing about what we can do is we can store this energy and we can arbitrage it, which means that we can hold it and resell it at a better or higher price in the near future. And so the good thing about that is that creates more profit for everybody. And so with that being said, there will also be an agreement that is signed. You will have a rough draft initially to say, you know what, I have 60 acres on this, but I want to have 10 acres not to be utilized. You'll have that opportunity to make these decisions as well. And that becomes a rough draft, but then the final draft comes and you sign that. And then there would be the next one, which would be the installation agreement, where we deploy the engineers and any parties that are associated with the installation of that property, and begin. Typically, can be within another 30 to 90 days.
So, within a couple of months, somebody can go from filling out the free assessment to maybe having this starting to be installed or fully installed, and then maybe even start to generate some revenue for them. That's incredible.
Yes, they can start to generate revenue fairly quickly. Of course, we do need to get the installation completed, and realistically, from start to finish, it can be 1 to 4 months.
Right. That would make some sense. Obviously, there's got to be some hand-holding, some complications or whatever.
Well, there's also the deployment of large sums of capital. Right. Depending on the amount of land you're talking, it will run us approximately maybe $1 to $3 million per acre, if we're talking some property here, and so that's a substantial amount of money when you're looking at someone that may have 100 acres. That's $100 to $300 million investment into that particular property, and with that being said, we will also, what's nice is that people ask, well, do I have to do anything? Do I have to manage anything? Do I have to mow or do anything? No, you don't. We will have everything taken care of, and it will be managed, catered, and anything that is necessary, even for security and safety of the equipment and the assets, are all taken care of. Some people will be able to just enjoy their vacation.
So as we wrap this up, for those people listening in, we're talking about solar projects with Gary Cramer. Go to GaryCramer.com. You can take a look at the solar intake form and fill it out there. It's pretty obvious when you go to the site. You'll see it right away. We'll make sure we also have a link to it on the show notes inside this over here. So Gary, in the last maybe couple of minutes, who is the perfect person to be filling this out? Could you give me a couple of scenarios or 1 or 2 scenarios of the perfect or ideal scenario?
Yeah. Anyone that has anything that has to do with a commercial building that has a roof, a parking lot of any kind, grocery stores, fitness centers, industrial parks, you name it. Anyone that has agricultural land, anything from 1.5 acres up, anywhere in the world, as long as internationally there's a U.S. embassy. We can install in roughly 193 countries right now.
Wow.
So the world is open for us to help and support the renewable energy side, and potentially, again, we're looking at helping people reduce their electricity bills on their commercial buildings. We're promoting energy independence, and that's a key. So anybody that is looking at what they have for assets as far as land, this is a perfect opportunity for them to make a decision where we have this opportunity at no cost. No cost, and sharing the revenue is really incredible. Some people find it hard to believe, but there's a crisis at hand, and it's necessary. And so at the end of the day, simply fill out the form, get the free assessment. Let's see if your property gets approved, and then look at the numbers and make a decision. You're not locked in until you decide to sign the power purchase agreement. So you have a fantastic opportunity to not only see what your property can produce for you, and sign when you decide at that time, once that decision is clear for you. So the objective is anyone with land right now that's agricultural, industrial, commercial, those are the folks that need to consider this. And maybe I've had people call up their family members. I've called up old friends from 20 years back, and I would ask them, hey, do you got any land? And I would have them say, yes, I do. I have 180 acres over here. I have 45 over here. And there was a case where I said, man, I've known you for 25 years. You never mentioned anything about this land. He said, no, it's in the family. And now we're in the process of helping him do solar. Wow. And it was something he was actually interested in looking into, but he had found out it was too costly for him to afford it until now. And so now we're helping do that business together.
Well, I'm so glad you're here to explain this for our Building Fortunes radio listening audience. I hope you're catching up on this stuff. You'll be able to go to GaryCramer.com, GaryCramer.com. Of course, you could always reach out to me. I can get Gary on the phone or whatever. We'll be able to help you with some preliminary questions as well, but just see if you qualify. So go fill out that form, and we'll be in touch. Gary, I want to say, I love working with you. You blow my mind with these types of projects. I know that you've done stuff like this before in a massive scale. This sounds really great. And for those people where this might fit, it might be a real life changer and a game changer as well. So take advantage of it for now. So, Gary, I'll give you the last minute or so, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, I do want to thank you very much, and I want to thank anyone that's listening in the audience and folks that have questions. Yes, certainly reach out. When you go to my site, I do have my number there. But most importantly, don't be afraid. I mean, the key is is getting a free assessment. I have some people worried about, where's my information? You'll see that the information is very basic information, and there's nothing invasive. And at the end of the day, you'll end up getting an email or somebody to reach out to you, but you'll always be able to reach back to us as well. I have some fantastic financial partners, fantastic people involved with decades of experience in the solar business. And so we are really going out here to help the grid resolve its problems. And so all of you can be a part of that solution by looking at turning your property into renewable energy and also reducing the electricity costs on your own buildings. So taking full advantage of it. And I look at helping cities even transform the entire city. The other thing to think about is, I don't want you to forget, but if there's developers listening, if you are preparing to develop, housing developments and buildings or grocery stores or anything like that, we can now help you build these buildings with our zero net energy technology. And with that being said, you provide the land, we bring the material, we help build it, and together we sell it and we share in the revenues. Right. And plus, you got some cutting edge homes. They're beautiful, and the buildings are beautiful. So it's worth the view of looking deeper into what we're doing.
This is great. So that's why I had you here, Gary, because I knew I would never be able to explain it the same way you do. Thanks so much for being here. Check them out. Go to GaryCramer.com, GaryCramer.com, and we'll make sure this is on the Building Fortunes Radio Network as well. And we're going to plaster this all over the place. So if you see it all over, it's because we're putting it everywhere we possibly can. Gary, I love working with you. Thanks for all the great things you do. And we're going to catch everybody next time on Building Fortunes Radio. Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Building Fortunes Radio on buildingfortunesradio.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check us out every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the designated Building Fortunes Radio segment with Peter Mingles. Be sure to check out the buildingfortunesradio.com website for our featured segments. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. So spread the word, tell a friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world.